Imagine standing at a doorway that could change your entire life. Your heart's pounding, your hands are shaking, and you're wondering if you even deserve to step through it. That's exactly what this 19th century painting captures, and trust me, its message about education might hit closer to home than you think. Before we delve into At the Door of the School, we need to understand the remarkable man behind the canvas. Nikolai Bogdanov-Belsky's own life story reads like something out of a novel, and it's crucial to understanding why this particular subject touched him so deeply. Born in 1868 to a poor farm worker mother, Bogdanov-Belsky knew firsthand what it meant to be on the outside looking in. As an illegitimate child in 19th century Russia, his early years were marked by poverty and social stigma. But instead of accepting the limited opportunities typically available to someone of his background, young Nikolai showed an extraordinary determination to learn and create. His journey began in an icon painting school, where he first learned to hold a brush and mix colors. This humble start would eventually lead him to study in some of the most prestigious art institutions in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and even Paris. Think about that for a moment. A poor peasant boy who might have spent his life working in the fields instead became one of Russia's most respected artists. This personal history isn't just interesting background information, it's absolutely essential to understanding At the Door of the School. When Bogdanov-Belsky painted this scene, he wasn't just imagining what it might feel like to be that hesitant boy at the door. He was painting from memory, recreating a moment he had lived himself. This personal connection gives the painting an authenticity and emotional depth that might not have been possible otherwise. Throughout his career, Bogdanov-Belsky would return again and again to themes of rural education and peasant life, particularly focusing on children. This was a way of documenting and drawing attention to a world he knew intimately. His work became a powerful form of social commentary, highlighting both the challenges faced by rural communities and the transformative power of education. Now, let's take a closer look at the painting itself. At first glance, it might seem like a simple scene, a boy standing at a doorway. But as we examine it more carefully, we'll discover how every detail contributes to telling a powerful story. The central figure is a teenage boy, shown from behind, standing at the threshold of a classroom. His clothing immediately tells us something about his circumstances. It's worn and humble, typical of what a peasant child would wear in late 19th century Russia. Look at how the artist has captured the boy's posture. Slightly hunched, clutching a wooden walking stick in one hand and perhaps his cap in the other. This body language speaks volumes about his emotional state, a mixture of longing, uncertainty, and perhaps even fear. The boy carries a shoulder bag on his back, and combined with the walking stick, these details tell us something important. This child has traveled a considerable distance to reach this school. This wasn't just a casual stroll to the local schoolhouse. It was a pilgrimage of sorts, representing both physical and metaphorical distance between this child and education. Looking past our main figure, we see the classroom itself. Bogdanov-Belsky has carefully included details that would have been modern educational tools of the time. A geographical map on the wall, a blackboard, and students bent over their studies. The lighting in the scene is particularly masterful. Notice how the classroom seems to glow with a warm, inviting light, while our protagonist remains in relative shadow. This creates a visual metaphor for the division between knowledge and ignorance, between inclusion and exclusion. The color palette is dominated by yellows and browns, creating a warm, almost golden atmosphere that suggests both the humble, earthy origins of the boy and the precious nature of the opportunity before him. The composition itself, with the boy positioned off-center and viewed from behind, invites us to share his perspective. We too stand at the threshold, looking in at a world of learning and opportunity. To truly appreciate the significance of this painting, we need to understand the educational landscape of Russia in the late 1800s. This was a time of tremendous change and social upheaval, when Russia was struggling to modernize while maintaining its traditional character. Education in 19th century Russia was a study in contrasts. While the upper classes had access to excellent private tutors and prestigious institutions, the vast majority of the population, particularly the peasant class, had extremely limited educational opportunities. In fact, at the time this painting was created, literacy rates among rural populations were staggeringly low. Many children never saw the inside of a classroom, instead spending their days working alongside their parents in the fields. However, this period also saw the emergence of progressive educators and reformers who believed in the importance of educating the rural poor. One such figure was Sergei Alexandrovich Rachinsky, to whose folk school this painting is dedicated. Rachinsky was a professor at Moscow University who gave up his prestigious position to establish schools for peasant children. These schools represented a radical idea at the time that poor rural children deserved not just basic literacy, but a real education. The significance of these folk schools cannot be overstated. For a peasant child, the ability to read, write, and understand mathematics could mean the difference between a life of manual labor and the possibility of pursuing other opportunities. But attending school wasn't just a matter of walking through the door. Peasant families often faced difficult choices. Sending a child to school meant one less pair of hands to help with farming or other work. Every day a child spent learning was a day they weren't contributing to the family's immediate survival. This economic reality adds another layer of meaning to our painting. That boy at the door represents not just his own hopes and fears, but possibly his entire family's sacrifice and investment in the future. The artwork also challenges us to think about our own attitudes towards education and opportunity. How do we, as a society, treat those who stand at the door hoping to enter? Do we create welcoming spaces for learning, or do we maintain invisible barriers that keep some people on the outside looking in? The next time you see a classroom door, remember this painting and the countless stories it represents. Stories of hope, determination, and the transformative power of education. Perhaps then we'll understand that while the specific challenges may have changed since Bogdanov-Belsky's time, the fundamental human desire to learn and grow remains as strong as ever. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this painting. What doorways have you stood before in your life? What opportunities made your heart race with both fear and hope? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into art and education history interesting, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got more fascinating stories about art that changed the world coming up, and I'd hate for you to miss them. And don't forget to tap that bell icon. It's the best way to make sure you catch these stories right when they come out.